I am the broker owner of Boston Connect Real Estate, a boutique firm that is home to over 30 real estate sales and marketing agents who service home buyers and home sellers throughout Boston, the South Shore, the South Coast, and Cape Cod. Our firm takes pride in assisting our clients in the next chapter of their lives by taking a holistic approach to their real estate endeavors. We believe that every move should be a moving experience. Every week, my co-host Melissa Wallace and I will provide you with my team's unique marketing approach to selling homes and share with you our expertise in navigating the home buying process. We value the experience of our agents at Boston Connect Real Estate so much that not only will you hear my perspective on real estate topics, occasionally you will hear the expert thoughts and opinions of our experienced agents at Boston Connect Real Estate. Be a part of our roundtable. If you have any questions during the show, please call 781-837-4900. We'd love to talk real estate. Follow us on Facebook, Instagram, and wherever you like to listen to podcasts at Talk Real Estate Roundtable. If you would like a one-on-one consultation with me and my team to discuss your real estate needs, you can connect with me at bostonconnect.com or 781-826-8000. Now, sit back, relax, take good notes, and let's talk real estate. And good morning to all my South Shore neighbors. This is Sharon McNamara. You are, of course, listening to Talk Real Estate Roundtable, and I am live in studio this morning with the one and only Melissa Wallace. Good morning.
Good morning. What's going on?
I'm good.
Happy day after Halloween.
Happy day after Halloween. Yeah, you know, I waited until the end of the night last night to just sort of fly away in my broom.
That was funny.
Yeah, it was a lot of fun. The things that AI can do. So, and I believe we have the one and only Tim McKinney in WATD. He's our producer this morning. Good morning.
Yes, good morning, ladies.
Good morning.
And a sugar hangover? What's going on today?
No, I just was in the Halloween mood still.
Yeah.
The goblins and ghosts haven't left me yet.
Yeah. I know.
Yeah.
It takes a little while to get that out of your system, you know?
It does, yeah. Because all month you're like, ooh,
I know. It's you know, I got to tell you, like, Halloween is different now. Like, not as many trick-or-treaters. Do you think, why is that?
It's because they do those trunk or treat or trick or whatever, like, so they have like all these parties and, you know, these events that like kids can go to, so by the time Halloween comes around, it's like you've already trick-or-treated 8 times.
I know. So Tim, what was your favorite costume growing up when you were younger?
Oh my gosh, my favorite costume. Well, I remember one Halloween I was the Flash.
Oh, I can picture that.
Yeah, that's a long time ago.
Was that a couple years ago?
No.
Right, we're not talking about last year, okay?
No. The go-to costume for Joel and I, because everyone says you never age, we go as vampires usually.
Oh, that's a good one. That's insightful. Yeah, absolutely.
One year I had a homemade costume with a sweatpants and a gray hooded sweatshirt. I was a mouse. I made some like paper.
Like Stuart Little?
Yeah.
Like Stuart Little? No, like just a mouse.
Just a little mouse.
Just a mouse.
Just a mouse.
Yeah. No famous mouse. No. I didn't have a
Mighty Mouse. Yeah. You could have gone a mouse and Flash all as one,
Mickey
and been Mighty Mouse.
The flashing mouse. Oh boy. No.
And he's not saying a flasher, just to set the record straight.
Right. Yeah, the Flash, like the superhero, gone. But no, the tail was just a gray. Well, it was a wire with gray shielding around it, and little ears attached to the hood, and I think Mom painted whiz. Oh, and I had like a little mouse nose to put on with a string.
Aww.
Very cute.
Very cute. Like homemade costumes used to be a thing. I don't see it as much as of a thing, you know?
Yeah. My Nana used to make all my costumes for a very long time.
Yeah.
Wendy, Ethan's mom, sent us a picture of Ethan's first Halloween. So she's like holding him because he was born in August. So, you know, he was baby first Halloween. And so I sent a picture of me as a princess from 1994, and my Nana had made my little princess costume, but that was when like you had to wear the long sleeves underneath because it like
so cool. Yeah, because you were actually trick-or-treating.
We were actually trick-or-treating. You know, so I had the white turtleneck underneath my princess dress that my Nana had made. But I don't feel like it doesn't happen anymore.
No, it doesn't. It's not as fun for me, I guess. But for me growing up, the one costume that I remember, it was when I was a senior in high school, actually. So I'm not going to go way, way back. But I was a clown, and someone in our neighborhood was a professional clown. So I went over their house in the morning. So seniors, it was a big thing to like dress up and everything. So I was an actual professional clown.
So the professional clown helped you get ready.
Yeah.
That's so cool.
It was so awesome.
How do you get into that profession?
Yeah. And then I was giving out candy. And then in our psychology class, it was interesting. The teacher had said, what you dress up as is really how you're like sort of imagining yourself, like your inner child is like coming out. So I felt really bad for all like the people who dressed up like prostitutes and like, sexy little mice and stuff.
Oh my God.
I was like, here I am, a clown giving out candy.
Oh my God. Well, a couple of years ago, I was a hot dog. So what does that say?
You like hot dogs?
I do. I love
doesn't
a good
like a hot dog?
Frank. Yeah.
I love a hot dog. I truly do. But then, it's funny. Life is going full circle. So one of my neighbors, Sean Worley, the Worleys, we've been friends, and neighbors with them for a very long time. And I was still at the office, and Mark sent me a picture, and they came by with Nora. So Nora's not even one yet in her little chickie costume.
Yeah.
So I was like, I'm sorry, we have no candy. And Tim was like, there's always one in the neighborhood.
Yeah.
And that was us. So I stopped there on my way home, and it was better. I mean, it was reverse trick-or-treating. I took the candy from the office. I showed up. I got to see Nora in her costume, and I had a glass of wine. So there you go.
Yeah, but you brought the candy back, which means we have to eat the rest.
I have to stay away from that. Anyway, so that's our life in a nutshell. So glad we could get all of you caught up.
Bring the candy to the open houses you're hosting.
Oh, that's a good idea. But if no one comes, guess what happens?
Wow.
Yeah, while you're waiting for someone to show up, you're eating the entire bowl.
Well, what you do is you also put under the open house sign and say, we have candy.
Yeah, we can do that.
Day after Halloween candy.
Yeah, and everybody's
it's still fresh, and they don't have to go to the store and pay for it.
Yeah,
I know. 50% off today, probably.
Right?
Oh, yeah. Too bad we couldn't buy it for next year. How we always buy like
we can put it in the freezer.
That's all right. Joel got a bag of candy to hand out last night. We didn't get any trick-or-treaters, but, we overlap our holidays now a little bit. We're seeing Christmas ads before we even finish Halloween.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
The bag of the candy he picked up had a penguin on the front of it wearing a red scarf.
Oh. So perfect.
Yeah.
Well, the key is don't just buy Halloween themed candy. Buy regular candy too. Nobody's going to say anything.
Right, the neutral stuff.
So now you can move on.
Stocking stuffers.
You can put it in a little bowl when people are coming over, instead of nuts or whatever people use.
I think we just keep on this track today.
Yeah. What's your favorite candy?
Yeah. Well, see, and I love
I think Rob already did that survey.
Oh, did he?
Really?
What one?
What's your favorite candy?
Reese's.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a sure winner. But you know what I love? I love Sour Patch Kids and all that.
That's interesting because I saw you go for the Sour Patch Kids yesterday, and I was like, literally in my head, I was like, oh, I didn't know she liked Sour Patch Kids.
Yeah,
because we're supposed to know everything about each other.
Yeah, I
know.
know.
What about the trolley worms?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I like any of that gummy, sugary type of stuff. So, anyways, well, I'm glad that everybody had a nice Halloween. And here we are just getting settled in. And you and Tracy had a good show last week. So that was last week, right? Yeah. Thank you for filling in. It was haunting stories and stuff. I slept in. I slept until 8:45.
Yeah.
I had someplace to go. Mark and I had someplace to go. But it's sad time of season. We have to close up the boat. So, that's a good show. And I had I'll have to save it for next year because I did have a couple actual ghost stories that I could have shared.
Yeah, you could have.
Yeah, well, I'm a witch now, just flying away on my witch broom.
Yeah,
with my dog that I turned into a bat.
We do have a co-host today.
We do have a co-host. If you're watching us online, you can see my little Marley Bella. She's my little nugget, is what I called her. So I dressed her up like a chicken yesterday. So she was a chicken nugget.
Yes.
She just looked at me like, I know, Mama.
She's like, I know what you're talking about, man.
Yeah. All right,
She's so sweet.
Here it is, 8:15. People are like, Sharon, your show.
Is this about real estate?
Yeah, get on track.
You know what? But here's the thing. It's our show.
Yeah, we can do it. I can talk
and you all have free will. So if you don't like it, come back at 9:00.
Yeah.
Do you have something online?
I don't know. I think we might have somebody sort of trolling.
Oh, that's something that comes up. I think it's from the internet people.
Yeah, and I don't really like that saying on there.
Yeah.
So I just do feel the need, in case it is somebody real, that if you are feeling this way, then you should definitely call some type of a hotline, right?
Yep.
Because can you read what it's saying?
Oh, I can read it.
Yeah. So, anyways, um, okay. So what are we into today? I barely know. I looked down. I remember you told me what you were thinking, and I was like, good thought. But I was like,
Yeah. Well, so like we say all the time, so we come up with our topics for by sort of real life. So what's going on in the office, what's going on in our business, things like that. So we're calling our show today From Offer to Closing, Navigating the Home Sale Timeline. So we've talked about the I almost said new construction, but that's not true. We do talk about new construction,
home
but the
inspection.
home inspection, new home inspection regulation, the law, and how that's going to possibly affect a timeline when it
Mm-hmm.
comes to getting an offer accepted, and how that looks now with, you have to have a reasonable amount of time to decide if you're going to do a home inspection and things like that. But there's so many other elements to an offer and from, you know, accepting the offer to the closing table of a timeline, and
Mm-hmm.
how that timeline can shift, how we can keep that on track. So we're just going to sort of talk about navigating that timeline and what those time frames mean, because
Mm-hmm.
there's one big timeline, so that's from offer to closing, and then
Mm-hmm.
there's smaller timelines.
Yeah.
So it's okay, you get an accepted offer and then you decide to do a home inspection. So what's that timeline?
Mm-hmm.
From that timeline to signing a purchase and sales, and then it's also, a timeline from signing a purchase and sales possibly to an appraisal
Yep.
and things like
And
that.
a
So
commitment.
commitment, yes.
Mm-hmm.
So there are many timelines within a larger timeline.
Yes. Mm-hmm. And it can get confusing for people too. And one of the other thing with timelines to consider is, as a listing agent, I'm always, we have to be really careful with our timelines as well, because if the person purchasing a house has a house to sell,
Yeah.
we can put a timeline on there. So they could put the offer in and it could be contingent upon them selling their house.
Hmm.
Well, we don't give that free ended. So
Yeah.
we put a timeline on that. But then, one of the trickier parts that comes is aligning the timelines of the sale of that property with the sale of, the purchase of the property that they're buying,
Yeah.
which may be my listing. So there are definitely a lot of moving pieces. And as an agent, I think it's really important to realize, like, you have to pivot and you have to think, you always have to be watching these
Hmm.
dates. The important part of these dates is your fiduciary responsibility to your
Yeah.
buyer and your seller. And if you miss some of these dates, you're potentially you could, I haven't seen it maybe once or twice in my career, you lose your deposit.
Yeah. And
And no one wants to
we
do that.
nobody wants to
I
do
never
that.
want a homeless person, and I never want to whatchamacallit, like someone who like sold the house and like has nowhere to live, like
Yeah.
interimly, because
Yeah.
you know what I mean? I didn't mean an actual homeless person, because I'm happy to help them too, like, but the other thing is, yeah, I don't want anyone to lose any money in the meantime either.
Excuse me, I have to cough.
That's okay.
I want to talk about first sort of what happens after the offer is accepted. So a timeline that sort of starts the clock after. Well, actually, you know what?
Yeah,
There
there is a timeline
there
right
is a
before.
timeline right
Right on
before.
the same
We're
track.
on
Yeah.
the same wavelength.
Yeah.
So for anybody who has seen an offer, there is a timeline or a time limit that you have in your offer that is when your offer expires.
But I'm also thinking, so we were sort of on the same
Oh,
page, but I was one even ahead of that, is usually
offer
there's
deadline.
offer
There we
deadline.
go. See, we're on the same line.
Yeah, there you
Okay,
go.
I got back on the
Listen, it's
train.
almost like you have an avatar sitting here with you.
Yes.
Avatars scare me, but go
Oh,
ahead.
see how excited we are about timelines?
Yeah.
Okay, so you put a property on the market. So you're a listing agent,
Yeah.
Sharon, and you're getting a lot of activity, and you know that, okay, people are going to love this house. Say it's a Friday, you're getting a lot of great feedback from it, either
Mhm.
showings, and then you know that you're going to be doing an open house. So you say, you know what, I'm going to put an offer deadline.
Mhm.
So talk about what an offer deadline is, and sticking to that offer deadline,
Yeah,
how
and
important that is.
yeah, and it got a little controversial there
Yeah.
for some time, when we had multiple offer situations a lot, and we are still seeing multiple offer situations. I put in 2 offers last weekend, and both of them had multiple offers. Actually, both of them had 3 offers. So when, but some of our agents, I mean, Sue Bollinger, full-time real estate agent here at Boston Connect, she had what, how many?
9 or
9 or
10 on
10.
her. And so speaking of timeline, that property was actually under agreement beforehand, and it fell apart a couple days before closing because of timeline issues.
Oh, really?
Yes, and unfortunately, the buyers weren't unable to obtain financing, but it had to
Oh.
do with the timeline issue. So that property went back on the market, and
That happened to us twice this year because it happened to Tracy Grady.
yes, yeah, it did. And you know what? It Thankfully, it was in an area that is very sought after. The price point is very sought after. So she did have about 9 or 10 offers, and she had about 9 or 10 offers the first time around. So the
Mhm.
second time around, the same sort of feedback, and people were really, really going after it.
Yeah.
So,
So
but
that's a good
yeah,
show. I just wrote it down.
yeah,
Deals that fall apart and why.
yes,
Yeah, that's a good show. I mean, it's not a good situation, but everything happens for a reason. I mean, Mackenzie's in Texas, and she, her first, offer that she put in, that fell apart. Then the second house she put an offer in, that fell apart, but then it got back together. So,
hmm,
so with the timeline, when I'm listing a property, it really is. It depends on how the market is responding to that listing, and if you feel you almost have a sense of, are there going to be multiple offers or they're not, which again is, we could do a whole show on communication and the importance of communication with real estate agents, because I've had a couple of those situations in the past couple of weeks as well. And you can almost tell if you're going to end up with multiple offers before we automatically put it in there, like, offer deadline Monday by
hmm,
12
hmm,
to whatever it was. And we always stood to it, right?
yeah,
We would not take a bully offer. What we would consider a bully offer would be something astronomical, over asking, waiving home inspection, and but you have to take it off the market. Like, you have to
yeah,
cancel your houses and everything. So now I'm not even putting it in anymore. Now I'm just sort of feeling it out. And for the most part, I'm saying to people, why don't you just submit your offer whenever? You know what I
yeah,
mean? As they come in, and then the seller can decide, yeah, this offer is good enough for me to take right now, or I'm going to wait, and go through my open house and see if there are any other potential buyers on
hmm.
that situation. So we put that deadline. You have to have the offer in by this time. And then the next part was what you were talking about, was the how long the offer is
Yeah.
good until.
Yeah, so there's an expiration time and date in the offer that you decide. A lot of the times people put 24 hours, and also the listing agent can say, please put in your offer, like make offer good for at least 24 hours after submitting, because it is sort of a big decision for sellers. So,
Mhm.
say you receive an offer at 5 o'clock, you're meeting with your sellers at 6 o'clock, they're going through all of their offers, and they need a moment to think about it.
Mhm.
Because, and I said this, I don't remember if it was during our lunch and learn recently, or at some point during these classes that we've been doing. I said, once you get like multiple offers, they all start to kind of look the same,
Mhm.
because people are putting their best foot forward.
Well, numbers are numbers. Let's
Numbers are
just
numbers, yeah,
the only thing I can't gauge is emotional value, right?
right.
So for the most part, if somebody is going to be basing their offer on market, what's going on in the market trends and all that, basically the offers are all going to be the same.
Yeah.
It's really the contingencies that are going to make it change and make it worth, you know what I mean? Like, make them look a little bit
Yeah.
different. And then there's going to be the one person that, like, this is the perfect house for me. I'm willing to go over asking.
Yeah. And, like I said, once you start to get in the tens or whatever, these offers, they all start to sort of look the same, because there's only so many elements to the offer that you can make really strong.
Well, and Massachusetts just took one of those away.
I know. So, it like I said, they start to sort of look alike. And, you have said a million times that you can't buy shoes on Zappos in 30 minutes.
Mhm.
So, like, sell your house and just choose, an offer. It could take longer than 30 minutes. So
Mhm.
that timeline is put in there. So your offer, has an expiration time and date.
Mhm.
So that's a timeline that you
And
have to be notified if your offer is getting accepted or not.
And one of the other things too that's really important is, the importance of knowing your client, and, I may have an estate sale and then I may have somebody that, they're just going into a larger home, or I have somebody who's moving, right sizing into a smaller home, or like you have to sort of understand the emotions of each person, and then
Right.
dealing with new construction, forget it. I love the new construction because there are no emotions involved
Yeah.
in that. It's just the numbers. Do they work for the developer, or do they not? But you do have to think about the emotional aspect of things when you are putting in an offer as well.
Well,
That the homeowner might be thinking, the seller, that's what I mean, like they might need more time,
yeah.
they might want that.
Well, I'm going to talk about the emotional shift with the buyer as
Yeah.
well. So, this is we have a little agenda here, but my first segment here is, the emotional shift for buyers. So, once an offer is accepted, the excitement of we got the house quickly shifts to nerves about inspections,
Hmm.
financing, deadlines, because it becomes reality. Oh my gosh, I'm buying a house. So, it's an emotional roller coaster for buyers and sellers, both respectively.
Hmm.
And, part of the agent's role is to guide them calmly through it. So it's very much what you just said. And going through that personally, once I stopped crying
Yeah.
after you FaceTimed me, you and Mark FaceTimed me that I, got an accepted offer on one of your listings, it sunk in and I was like, oh, wait a minute. I was
Yeah.
like, uh-oh. Yeah. So, and then after I signed purchase and sales, I remember being like, oh my, uh-oh.
I'm a
Oh my
homeowner.
goodness, this is
Getting close.
becoming really close. And I just remember every day being like, okay, I was so nervous that I was making sure that I was doing the right thing. I wasn't, spending $1 million on a new car, like trying to
Yeah.
make sure that I was being responsible and getting exactly what I needed for documents and everything like that, that I was like, okay, this was the goal. This is how I'm gonna get there. But it is nerve-wracking. It's an emotional
I was
roller
gonna ask you
coaster.
that. Like, did you feel at any point, because Mackenzie's going through this right now, especially
Mhm.
because it's a house that she had under contract, then it
Yeah.
fell apart because of some situations, but now it's back under contract. But I was like, "Are you excited?" And she's like, "I can't let myself get there."
Yeah, it was like, it was I just remember, like, having the conversations, just being like, am I there? Is this really happening? And having
Could
to
it
be
fall apart? Like, that's
having
what
to
her
be
fear
reassured.
is.
Yeah, having to be like, I was nervous, and there was really no reason to be nervous because I had done all the work.
Mhm.
And it was almost like a waiting game. Like,
Yep.
waiting for the appraisal, waiting for the clear to close. But,
Mhm.
I got a clear to close a week before closing. And,
Mhm.
so it was, it was definitely like, I thought maybe, okay, something might happen, but that was
Mhm.
just me. Like, that was just in my head. So, um, it was definitely, and we didn't really have a long timeline. Like, we sort of had a tight timeline. I closed within 30 days. So I really wasn't waiting that long, but, I had to do the work. When you have, student loans and things like that, that you have
Mhm.
to get all these documents from, and, things like that. It's almost like I was waiting on other people.
Mhm.
And then once I got those things, I was like, okay, I'm ready. And then I was like, okay, one more step. I'm like, oh, okay. So I just wanted to make sure that I did everything that
And that's
I
what's
needed to
important,
do.
and that's a good reminder for people when we are working with them. There's two different timelines, and if anybody is interested in getting a timeline, we can obviously email you a full timeline of this process.
Yeah.
So you can get in touch with us at
Hmm.
which email should we just say?
Real estate.
Real estate at
Yeah.
bostonconnect.com. If you are interested in getting this full timeline, we have one for buyers
Hmm.
and one for sellers that we can send out to you and email you. But I think I had something to say in there. The timeline is different for both people. And the important part of you getting your documents and
Yeah.
doing all that, right? You have to be on track. It's
Yeah.
almost like, I guess it would be similar to like I don't know, getting tickets for like Taylor Swift, and then you forgot that you don't have your credit card in front of you, and you have to you're running around crazy,
I know.
right? And you're
Yeah.
like, oh my God, I only have 30 seconds left to put in my information.
Yeah.
Like, don't do
and
that.
those tickets would be stolen right from underneath you.
Yeah.
But the other element is that I was technically my own buyer's agent.
Yeah.
So, the communication was pretty easy for me. But for anybody else who's working with a buyer's agent, that communication is key. And we say this all the time, that it really comes down to communication and, how things are expressed and the importance of how things are expressed, because this is a very important purchase and a very important sale. So everybody at the end of the day, wants to see this succeed. And I've talked about this recently on one of our shows, that like, it's not one against the other. We both have a common goal. And if we get there, let's stay within our timeline.
So other things that happen after the offer is accepted is, what does under contract really mean? And excuse me, in Massachusetts, an accepted offer is just the first step. The sale isn't binding until both parties sign a purchase and sales agreement, typically about a week or two later. And this is again where you can put in timelines. And this is, as myself, I put in 2 offers this week for clients, just so you know, neither one of them got accepted. And the reasons make sense to me. I understand exactly why. You have to respect the seller's decision. It just wasn't the one for my buyer, apparently. But with those offers, these new timelines of, okay, I'm going to have my home inspection within this time period. I'm going to have I'll do the purchase and sales agreement within a week. So staying on top of those things. In our MLS, we actually have 2 different, and you may see this when you're on, different platforms out there looking at homes like Zillow or Realtor.com or BostonConnect.com or whatever, that we have the first one is an accepted offer. That's when we mark it contingent. And that's contingent upon, the home inspection, contingent upon the signing of the purchase and sales agreement. Then under agreement is after that purchase and sales agreement is signed. But I stated in the beginning was in Massachusetts, we are like sort of a 2-step process when it comes to contract. So it's an offer to purchase, the contract to offer to purchase, which is a binding contract, by the way. Anything and everything that's in there will then be put into the purchase and sales agreement, and that goes between the attorneys. So we are what we call an attorney state here in Massachusetts. Other states are not. Maine, I just found out because one of our clients and friends has a property in Maine and had some questions. I contacted one of my friends up in Maine that's an agent, and they are a title state.
Yeah.
Texas is also a title state. It's like speaking 2 different languages to me. It's I don't, but they go like I'm like, why is it taking so long for them to just agree to like the offer part? And they're like, well, because it's really a purchase and sales agreement.
Yeah.
Florida?
Yes. So I remember when my friends, Stephanie and Scott, were purchasing their second home, and they live in Florida. And she, had sent what an offer, I'm using air quotes because it was 18 pages long.
Yeah.
Because there's so many other elements to living in
Title.
Florida that we don't really think about.
Mhm.
So we don't really necessarily, have a heavy emphasis on the outside of a home. But these homes, if they're made with stucco or like, things like that, like they have to be inspected. It's required. You have to have certain things inspected. So, I was going through it and I was like, oh wow, this is interesting. This is interesting. Cause she's like, I don't know what this means. And I'm like, well, you should
Neither
ask
do
your
I.
agent, but let me go through this. And so, it was definitely interesting. So every state is sort of different, and which is why if you sell real estate in a certain state or any state, you have to, do a class and, take a test and everything like that. So we sell real estate in Massachusetts, but we have plenty of agents around the country that we can refer business to. And
that's one of the things I'm loving. And there were times when I would hook up my phone to this app that it's called Clubhouse, and I go on that every morning, and I'm talking to agents from 7 in the morning. It's on from 7 to 9, but I'm usually doing it as I'm having my coffee, getting dressed, or doing whatever. And on my way into my first appointment, I'll listen in, and you can talk back and forth in this app. And I have to tell you, for the last 3 years, and it was big during COVID too, but for me, it's been the past few years. I actually call them my clubhouse friends, and I have literally friends in every single
Mhm.
state now, which is so nice because even like Maine is a big place, right? So I reached out to one of my friends up there and just said, "Hey, I have a client who, has inherited a piece of property. Is that your area, or do you know somebody in that area? Because I honestly want to refer the people that love and care about us, right,
Yeah.
to people that I know are going to do a good job on the other end." So that is something to think about, to our WATD listeners. If you are thinking about moving out of state and you don't know where to begin, it's always with a buyer's agent. So if you need help finding a buyer's agent, I'm more than happy to introduce you to somebody who works with the same level of professionalism that I think that we all do here.
Yeah. Something else about timelines, with the purchase and sales, it sort of popped in my head when you said that is the attorneys can
Hmm.
extend on their own as well. A lot of the times we're sort of waiting on the attorneys, just saying.
Hmm.
We give them all the information that they need, whether it's the accepted offer, all the documents from us, condo docs if you're, buying or selling a condo. And we're sort of waiting on them to go back and forth and negotiate, talk with the clients and things like that. But it's also on their schedule as well. So
Hmm.
sometimes, well, not sometimes we'll send an email to an attorney and say, hey, attorney, here is
Hmm.
all the information about this accepted offer. Purchase and sales is due to sign, on Monday, and say it's Wednesday. They have to be able to get all
Hmm.
that information. So they might be like, yeah, this isn't going to get done by Monday.
Yeah.
So they can extend it
Mhm.
too.
And that's one of the things too, is I like to put tight timelines with the two offers I just put in last weekend. I made them very tight timelines to make it appealing to the sellers. Like, hey, we're ready to go, and we'll make this as easy as possible for you. But it's as soon as their offer is accepted, I am reaching out to the attorneys and
Hmm.
saying, "Hey, just want to let you know we have an accepted offer." We still have steps in this
Yeah.
process, but so at least it's in front of you at that time. It's actually something for us to consider. And if we reach out to our attorneys and say, "Hey, do you want us to actually wait until it's a little more solid, or like
Yeah.
how do you want us to do this?" Because I also don't want to throw something at them and say, "Okay, we had the home inspection and we've already negotiated that, and now we need this, we need the purchase and sales agreement by tomorrow."
Right.
So
Also, it's important to communicate with the lender.
yes.
So if you want to do a tight turnaround, tight timeline, you also have to get an okay from the lender to make sure that it's possible for this loan to close in
Mhm.
3 weeks or anything like that.
That is
So
really an important piece, and I'm glad that you brought it up because it happens in new construction all the time. And as everybody knows, I do a lot of new construction, and I work for Stonebridge Homes. They hire me as their marketing and sales people for me and Mary, that we do that. And we have 2 developments with them, but we meet with our developer every Wednesday.
mhm.
We have like this, right? Because you've
Yep.
heard it, like it's once a month in person, and then every Wednesday 9 to about 11 o'clock, we talk about both of the developments. But we know every stage that each one of the units is in. And with new construction, by the way, you have to be really ready to pivot
Right.
because things can change. So aligning your lease or aligning the sale of your home, and maybe know let's plumbers, because I'm married to one and he would never do this. If they don't show up or something, or if they show up and the floor is in tiles, they
Yeah.
can't set the toilet. Like, it's such a snowball effect. But we talk about that every Wednesday. Where are we in the process? Sometimes we're way ahead, sometimes we're behind. But it seems interesting that every time we're ahead of schedule with something, that the ball is dropped with the loan officers
Yeah,
not
because they think
being
that they have all the
they
time.
think, yeah, they're like sort of, just like, all right, well, I have another month before this one's going to close. It's like, well, we're a month ahead of schedule right now.
Yeah.
So it's really important to have that communication. And I did notice that on your list here on your agenda. And I love that you called it team communication, because it is about being a team and having your team working for you all the time
Right.
and being able to, you know, I think we've talked about this at nauseum, actually, like what is the value of us as a buyer's agent or a seller's agent? It isn't just putting a sign out there, but it is making sure that all the other pieces are put together to make sure that the process goes on seamlessly.
I think it's also important to set expectations too. So, especially when you're talking about new construction of, here's the thing, this is our timeline, but setting the expectation that it could
Mhm.
change. It could change for the better. It
Mhm.
could change for the worse. But what's something that you guys sort of put in? Don't you put in
Yeah.
a timeline like,
We have 30 days.
yes.
Yeah.
So talk about that for a
Yeah.
second.
So in new construction, yeah, that's the other thing too, is you have to really look at that purchase and sales agreement. And for the most part, that purchase and sales agreement can't be adjusted or changed in new construction. And one of the caveats in there is that if we have 30 days after for the original closing day to actually make that closing date, because if it's things that are under under our we can't control, like weather and things like that. I mean, if you think about putting up a house and it's stick framed,
Yeah.
and then it snows, well,
Yeah.
guess what? Can't go up. So those are the things that you really have to look at. And staying on top of, the team part of it again is, staying on top of it with the attorneys and making sure that you are. And one of the milestones in here is, after you sign the purchase and sales agreement, you're sort of waiting for that next step is, getting to the commitment letter, right?
Yeah. Another part of our little agenda here is we're calling it the critical middle step. So we talked about inspection timelines. We've talked about home inspections a lot recently because of the new law. But common issues, and I don't think we got to this part of when we talked about home inspection is common issues that come up, because we've
Mm,
talked very much about like what a home inspection is and things like that. But something that could sort of disrupt the timeline is if you need to bring additional people into the home. So
mhm,
say there is a mold issue and you need
mm,
to have somebody come in and assess the mold, and then there's remediation. So there could be some other issues that could come up was radon. So you do a radon test. So this happened actually recently with
mm,
one of your listings.
yeah.
They decided to do a radon test,
Mhm,
and that radon results were not going to come back in time before signing a purchase and sales. So
mhm.
the buyer had asked to extend signing the purchase and sales, and talk about what ended up happening,
Yeah, they
because the
wanted
answer was no.
yeah, because they wanted to extend it, and this is one of the things too is, my mind is always sort of a couple steps ahead of where I am right now in the process because, again, I always say, buyers are looking for what's wrong, not for what's right. I have to come up with a term about why I am this type of person. Like, I'm always 2 steps ahead of thinking what could potentially go wrong and what do I already have a resolve
Is
for
that a
it.
forward thinker?
Maybe, I guess so, yeah. We'll have to ChatGPT that, I guess.
Yeah.
Yeah, so maybe I'm a forward thinker, I like that. And so with this situation, we were supposed to sign the purchase and sales agreement by Friday at 5 o'clock, and, that timeline can fluctuate. You just have to have it in writing, obviously, and usually between attorneys, but it can't be 5:01, so it should be extended. Anyways, they were having a raid on, so they did the home inspection on Thursday. We negotiated a couple things that came up with that, no big deal. And then the raid on takes 48 hours for the reading,
Hmm.
and they wanted to hold off on signing the purchase and sales agreement until Monday. And I spoke with the attorney and I said, absolutely not. Under no circumstances can I allow that to happen. I was like, this is an estate sale. They have this weekend. It's a quick closing. It was
Hmm.
cash, but they have to get everything. They only have this weekend to get everything out of the house. Clearly, we don't want to get everything out of the house if over the weekend,
They decide they're not
yeah,
going to move
they
forward.
decide they're not going to go forward or
Yeah.
something happens. So I asked the attorney to put in a contingency. It was a radon contingency. So
Yeah.
basically, the radon had to be 4.0 or less,
Yeah.
and then it would be negotiated if it was if it was over 4.0, right? So that way there we were able to sign the purchase and sales agreement. And selfishly for me, again, everybody knows I'm a very, very strong listing agent. I do a lot of listings. It makes me a very strong buyer's agent, but I do a lot of listings. That's what I'm thinking about. I'm thinking about if we don't sign purchase and sales agreement on Friday, not only can the sellers not get their stuff out of the house this weekend, but I'm losing a weekend of marketing time.
Right.
And I'm not going to slow down my momentum because the first 2 weeks are the most important 2 weeks of your entire listing,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
So that was my thought was, hey, I want to sign this today. And if we don't, then we're having another open house this weekend.
Yeah. And that got them to sign.
Yeah. And they signed.
But then, the closing ended up happening a day later
Yes.
than it was originally scheduled for. So even
Mhm.
though it was cash, and there's other elements to closings. It's the closing disclosure. It's making sure that that's all right, having that signed, scheduling the closing. And I know I'm jumping ahead to the closing, but going back to my point of sometimes the timeline depends on the attorney
Yeah.
is, you know,
And money
and
being
money.
transferred. This was
Yes.
cash. So it isn't like you're going to the bank and just saying,
R-
I'll have a certified check for this amount. People are
Yeah.
usually moving money from one place to another or
Yes.
multiple places from one place to another. And that this is definitely about timeline is one of the things I want to say about this situation was I said to the other agent, and he was actually great to work with. And I said to him, well, and it was for his parents. And I
Yeah.
was like, the good news about this is, yeah, I mean, my clients aren't living there. It isn't like they're
Right.
selling this to move somewhere
Right.
else, right? That would have been a sticky situation and a timeline concern, right?
Yes.
So think about it. If our clients were selling that to buy something else, the people buying that house might have something else, right? There's that snowball effect. We didn't have that worry. We didn't have that concern. We also didn't have the worry or concern of them having to be out of their house and a moving truck already there with everything sitting in a moving truck overnight.
Yeah. So yes, so the timeline of the day of closing, the attorney probably has more than one
Yeah.
closing. So whenever somebody asks like, oh, do we have a time for closing yet for this date? A lot of the times behind the scenes, I'm sure the paralegals or anybody at their office is trying to schedule all of these closings in the right fashion. So you just talked about a snowball. So if there is a domino, so somebody is selling and then they're purchasing, and then maybe that house is also purchasing something else. Um, you know, in that time frame, the first person should go early in the morning. So first thing in the morning, and you can even sign documents the day before and then get it recorded the next day. Things like that. So there are ways to keep on that timeline. In this situation, I just think that it happened too late in the day. I think that
Yeah,
the closing
I
just
agree.
happened too late in the day, and the money didn't hit in time for the attorney. So,
Mhm.
but it was first thing the next day, so that was good.
The other thing that's in here too that's really key is, the appraisal. And I
Hmm.
think sometimes listing agents, we sort of, it isn't, we're the ones waiting for the appraiser to call us and, set up the appointment and schedule it. But this is what I mean about being, on track. And we have, so like, it's in our minds like, hey, we haven't heard from the appraiser yet. What's going on with this situation, right?
Hmm.
So, and with new construction, I'm going to continue to go back to that too. It's completely different. With the new construction, there are a couple of different appraisals
Well,
that are
I
done.
was gonna say, don't they go to the property a couple times
Yeah, or a
during the
few.
process? Yeah,
Sometimes they'll go when it's just land, and then they want to see it. I had one the other day. She Mataported every single room. I never had that happen before. It was an hour and a half for an appraisal.
that's silly.
Yeah, and I go to every appraisal as a listing agent. I think that that's important. I mean, and for this situation here, she was coming from Providence, Rhode Island,
Yeah,
right? So she isn't familiar with the area for sure. So it's important to be there, but waiting for that appraisal. But we also, what happens if the appraisal doesn't come in? This is what I mean. Being a forward thinker, you have to be ready to pivot. This happened to one of our agents recently in the office where something didn't appraise.
right.
Right.
Yeah.
So actually it happened. Yeah. So it happened because actually Kristen Howlett, full-time agent here, she does the show with you all the time. She helps us over at Cochesset Estates in West Bridgewater. She actually had a buyer for one of our units over there where Mary and I are the listing agent. And it was that property that,
Oh, really? I didn't know that.
oh, you didn't know that
No, I
one?
didn't know that one.
Yeah. Yeah. So that's what
So did
happened.
it not appraise at the end of the day, or did it?
No, it didn't.
Interesting.
Yeah. But again, a appraiser that wasn't familiar with the area. And one
Did
was
they fight it?
Sort of. The problem is we had the same model was selling the next day, but the appraiser wouldn't use it because it wasn't sold at the time that he walked in the door.
It's a day.
I guess it matters to them.
Huh.
Well, you weren't around for the downfall of the mortgage industry,
Well,
so
yeah.
there you go.
Yeah.
So now they really pay attention. For anybody who's just joining us, welcome. You are listening to Talk Real Estate Roundtable. My name is Sharon McNamara, and I am the broker owner of Boston Connect Real Estate. And of course, I'm a full-time real estate agent who are helping home buyers and home sellers with their purchases. And a lot of times now, I'm teaming up with some of the agents in the office as well. So that's really fun and exciting new journey that we're on right now. But if you have any questions for us, you can call Tim. He's in studio still, 781-837-4900, 781-837-4900. We'd love to hear from you. I know a couple weeks ago we heard from our pal Jay over in Marshfield.
Yes.
So if you have any questions, feel free to give us a call. It doesn't have to be about this topic. It can be really about anything. And if you're watching us on Instagram, YouTube, Facebook, hello to all of our friends, but you can also send us messages via the websites. I mean, during the social media
The
pages.
websites in the interwebs.
In the interwebs. Yeah. So you can do that as well. And we'd love to hear from you.
Can you talk about financing contingency timeline and how to keep on track with that?
Yeah. So, I mean, we talked a little bit about it in between all of our topics today. So it's really up to the buyer to make sure that they're getting all of their bank statements, final paychecks, all that type of stuff in to, to their loan officer. So the underwriter can do their thing, the appraisal and all of that. We need what is called a commitment letter. So it's a commitment from the bank to give you the money. And it's basically saying, we have reviewed everything. It's gone through underwriting. We have a commitment letter. As we get a little bit closer, we have something that said, okay, we are clear to close. You can close today if you need to. So there's a couple little financing contingencies that are in there with dates, but might be a good idea. We haven't had a loan officer on in a long time, and maybe we can bring one on to talk to us a little bit more about that type of stuff too.
Yeah.
And rates dropped.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Great for Mackenzie.
Yeah, absolutely. I think it was like 595.
Yeah.
Which is
awesome.
really good. To be in the fives is good, people. So this is don't say, oh, I'm going to wait until they drop even lower. That people made that mistake before, right?
Yes. Okay, so we're getting to the part where this is the real reason why I wanted to talk about this, because we're getting into our colder months here now that we're in November. Happy November.
Daylight savings tonight.
Yes, daylight
Change
savings.
your batteries today.
Yes, change your batteries. Do you really have to change your clocks anymore, because they sort of just go and do their thing?
They sort of do their own thing.
Unless you have a really nice real watch.
Unless, I guess that. And if you have a, I don't know, grandfather clock or something.
Yes. Oh, yeah. If you have a grandfather clock, make sure you change that.
I mean, if you're working, in town in the big clock building, I'm sure someone has to go in there and turn it back.
Yeah. How about Big Ben? Does Big Ben?
I think someone has to wind that thing every day.
Yeah.
All right, there we go. We just squirrel right off onto the other thing.
I want to talk about how weather can impact a home sale timeline. So we live in New England.
Yep.
Here we are on the South Shore of Massachusetts. So we have snow, we have ice, we have heavy rains. So they can delay inspections, final walkthroughs. And when it comes to inspections, roofs, decks, foundations, you might not be able to access them. So there could be escrow holdbacks, post-closing inspections, things like that, because of New England challenges. So be aware of closings.
It's hard to do though when you're putting in an offer to something like, what is the weather going to be like in 30, 45, 60 days, right?
Yeah.
But that's why we also, and it is in part of this as well, your agenda is, don't pick a Friday. People, if you hear me say anything else on this radio show, do not pick a Friday to have your closing, especially the last Friday of the month. Do a Wednesday, do a Thursday, take a couple of days off from work, take an hour off from work to close the papers and move in that weekend. But we get snow, if we get heavy rain, we've had the registry closed down before.
Yes.
So you can't move in. If you have a closing on a Friday and there's a snowstorm and everything is closed down, then you can't move into the house.
Yeah. So we do have 2 other segments of holidays and their hidden delays, convenient or complicated for Friday closings. And to talk about Friday closings, especially if there's a Monday holiday, forget it. Do not schedule a closing on a Friday of a long weekend. And especially, well, buyers love Friday closings because they typically have a weekend off so they can move and get everything moved in and things like that. So, but, funding can be delayed, especially with the registry if it closes because of snow. And, here's the thing, everybody needs safety. So if it's unsafe to stay in these buildings, then those people should go home. So the registry can close, banks can close, things like that. Like you might not be able to access things on late Friday afternoon.
And you should always have everything that you need, like your final numbers. You have to sign a CD, which is closing disclosure. You have to sign that 3 days prior to your closing anyways. So you should know what your numbers are. Make sure you have your certified checks and make sure you have everything all aligned well before that time. So you're not running around saying, oh, I didn't realize I had to get a certified check. Yes, you do.
Yes. Also to have to do with weather and storms, you could lose power. So the registry could not have power. The bank doesn't have power. Places, the home itself doesn't have power. So, now you're closing on a home that has no power. And you want to make sure that power comes back on. So what do we do in that situation? So, and also during the winter months, it can be hard to get to certain elements. Having a septic inspected, or a Title V inspection or septic pump during the winter months when it's frozen ground might be a little bit more difficult than summertime. Do it now. Well, I'm having mine done next week.
Oh, you are? So that's what I wrote down actually for another show, and maybe we can do that next week just to stay on topic, or we can do it a couple of weeks from now, is doing a show on preparing for sale in the winter. And one of the things I thought about is, doing a video of your roof, right? And having a drone. So I think that would be a great show as well. So we came up with 2 new show ideas in this one show.
I think it's important to say vacant properties, making sure that they are secure, winterized, that pipes aren't bursting, and just making sure that they're bundled up and ready to take on the elements, especially when nobody is there.
Yeah. And there are, we can get more into this because that's why, with another show, in the winter months and during the holiday seasons, I think that that's what we'll talk about next, because we have a whole segment that we could do on that. And then back to the Friday closings, which we were just saying, it's never really, never really suggested that you do a Friday closing. So one of the things I do want to talk about too, we have a few minutes here, is was there anything else on here?
There's 8 sections, and I think we got to 2, so we're good. For the rest
and then
of the
like
show.
walkthroughs, we can talk a little bit about that. So you want to have a final walkthrough, right? So I always say to people that is a timeline thing too, but you want to have that walkthrough at the beginning, at the day of closing.
Yeah,
you never know. You do it the night before. Maybe there's stuff that's still left in the house. What do you do in that situation? We can do holdbacks. We can do all that type of stuff, but we can also. I like to do it the morning of, just so you can make sure, hey, the water heater didn't go overnight, or
the
something
water
like
main
that.
didn't break in the
Yeah,
front.
well, we had that happen. Water main broke the morning of a closing, so we had to deal with that in 90 degrees heat. So we just have 2 minutes here. So final thoughts. What are your final thoughts on this segment?
I think that we could do a million shows on this. Like I said, we have 8 segments to this, and I think we got through 2. But there's just, you said it perfectly yesterday, I think, during your class with our agents, is we do so much now. You have to think of so much now. Not that real estate was easy, 20 plus years ago when you first started, but there's so much more to it now, and there's so many more elements to it now that you're constantly having to think and sort of be on your game, and you should, rightfully so. You should, because this is somebody's most important decision and purchase.
Yeah, absolutely. So open houses again every Saturday and Sunday. We have Cushing Trails. I'll be there Saturday and Sunday this week, 10 to 12. So that's off of Spring Street in Hanson, and those are new construction condos. I only have 3 left in a 40 development unit development. And then, of course, over at Cochesset Estates in West Bridgewater, we have new models in phase 3
Perfect.
And we have a lot of fall incentives that equal about, I don't know, $18,000 worth of incentives there that are going on from the builder. So go over there and see Mary today and Kristen tomorrow, and they're there 10 to 2 over at Cochesset Estates. So have a great weekend, everybody. And if you want this roadmap and timeline of home buying and home selling, just send us an email at realestate@bostonconnect.com and we can get that out to you. Any other questions, of course, you can always call me directly at 781-294-4848 or at the office, 781-826-8000. Find us on bostonconnect.com.
Bye, everybody.
Bye, everybody. Bye, Tim.
T-Mobile Business Advantage.
I'm Michael Wallace. On this 32nd day of the government shutdown, FlightAware is already reporting more than 700 flight delays as more air traffic controllers opt to stay home rather than work without pay. Pilot Laura Einzettler says controllers